you ever watched your dog pace back and forth for no clear reason, or notice your cat suddenly hiding under the bed for hours? Maybe your dog pants nonstop during thunderstorms, or maybe your cat overgrooms until there are bald spots. What if I told you that pet anxiety is one of the most underdiagnosed health issues in dogs and cats today?
And here's the truth: anxiety doesn't just affect behavior, it impacts the immune system, digestion, sleep, heart health, and even longevity. Chronic stress in pets can silently shorten their lifespan.
Welcome to Unleash Curiosity by Vital Pet Life.
I'm Dr. Amber De Silva, veterinarian and advocate for integrative pet care.
And I'm Donie Yamamoto, founder and CEO of Vital Pet Life. We're so glad you're here.
This is a space where curiosity, compassion, and science converge, where we explore the powerful mind-body connection that supports your pet's health and your own.
Each week, we'll dive deep into the world of pet wellness, breaking down myths, exploring ingredients, and learning from expert voices across the industry.
From nutrition and sustainability to transparency and advocacy, we're here to help you feel more confident, connected, and informed in your care choices.
Let's get into it, because when we know better, we do better. This is Unleash Curiosity. Welcome back to Unleash Curiosity. In today's episode, Dr. Amber and I are diving deep into the truth about pet anxiety and what it really looks like, what causes it, and most importantly, how you can actually help.
Because a calm pet isn't just a well-behaved pet, it's a healthier pet.
Dr. Amber, let's start here. How do pet parents know the difference between quirky behavior and actual anxiety?
Yeah, that is a great question. And honestly, it can be really difficult to know the difference, to differentiate between those two.
Yeah.
So, with any kind of suspected behavioral problem, it's really, really important to have a full physical exam by a veterinarian and even diagnostic testing, maybe blood work, x rays, if there's anything found on the exam, to determine if there's a medical cause for the behavior. There's a lot of things like neurologic diseases, metabolic diseases, and pain, just to name a few, that can all cause behavioral changes. And so we want to make sure that there's not some kind of underlying medical condition that we need to treat that could be an explanation for the behavioral changes. So next would be to, you talk to your vet. They'll take an in-depth behavior and training history, even go to a board certified behaviorist. They have those in veterinary medicine, and they're experts in the field of behavior. So taking an in-depth behavior training history, what's their daily routine like? Has there been any changes in the house? Did someone move out? Did someone move in? Did you have a new baby? All of this, like how many walks a day, just tons of stuff that relates to the lifestyle of the pet. It's also maybe helpful to take a video. If you see your dog doing a certain behavior or your cat doing a certain behavior and you can catch it on video and then send that into your vet so they can watch it and see if that can give a clue too. And then, training to try to change the behavior and all of those things combined. And sometimes I think a quirky behavior can kind of be a little bit easier to train away than like true anxiety.
Exactly. And, sometimes pet parents think it's just their personality. You don't really know, right? But when pets are anxious, their bodies release cortisol and adrenaline repeatedly. I mean, what does that affect in their body? I mean, into their psyche too. How does it affect them?
If there's truly anxiety, it can have a lot of negative consequences for the gut, the immune system, the cardiovascular system, just to name a few. I think it's also really important to discuss how it affects the human-animal bond. So while most of us can have a lot of compassion for our pets and a lot of patience, it can also just be fatiguing when you're dealing with, chronic behavioral issues, chronic medical issues. You may start to just be tired or resent them a little bit because it's like, gosh, this is really, I know your quality of life is affected and so is mine. You're not sleeping, I'm not sleeping, or just whatever it is. Like it can really affect the bond that an animal and their human has. And so I think that's, lots of psychological and bonding and physical effects from anxiety.
Let's talk about solutions. What can pet parents start doing today at home? Like, is there supplementation? There's a lot of confusion when it comes to anxiety. I mean, CBD for one. People just drug their dogs with CBD. What's safe?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say that, but like some people I know will just give them like CBD, and I learned over the weekend too. Like Kyle mentioned to me, well, we were about to bring Tuxedo to the vet for his vet exam. We had to give him trazodone, and apparently, dogs that are aggressive, like Kyle saw it in a Facebook group we're in. Some dogs just have trazodone all their life, and I'm like, what? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of scary.
Yeah, and I think that there are a lot of supplements on the market. I would look up supplements that have some scientific evidence behind them. There's calming chews, there's probiotics. There's certain probiotics that they found when they start giving it to the pets that it actually calms them down. I think fish oil too, which
Mhm.
sounds weird, but it's just like those
Imbalance.
omegas, and
Yeah.
having like a healthy brain can help with that too. So there are like a lot of natural supplements that I think work, but they're okay. My dog is anxious because of a thunderstorm, and I'm going to give him this calming chew, and all of a sudden he's going to be perfect. I think we need to get that out of our heads. I think it's more of a long-term supplement every day. So I use anti-anxiety medication in my patients in practice. But my goal is not to drug them for their whole lives. My goal is to try to take down some of that anxiety while we work on other things, while we're training. We're working with the trainer, we're desensitizing to certain triggers. We're really working on that part of it and using the anti anxiety medication as a tool to take the edge off. To help us with the training. That's always my goal because really there's no magic pill. Like, I think especially if if the anxiety is such that you can treat them and treat them with the drug, use the training, and then taper them off. And they've got these tools that they can use and they don't need the drug anymore. I think that's ideal. But if there some dogs, like if you have to sedate them so heavily or give them like heavy anxiety medications, and some of them are on more than one, then sometimes I wonder about their quality of life. Like, what are they actually experiencing? Can they
Yeah.
still interact with people? Can they still have a happy life? But I also think like too high of anxiety is not a quality of life
Yeah.
either. That's like a clear as mud answer, but I think it's a really complicated issue. And I do think that it's worth having that conversation with your vet. Look for a referral for some like a trainer who's dealt with anxiety before, who can give you lots of tools and training you to help your dog as well.
Yeah. Also, like, what about pet parent stress? I think we discussed this a lot of times that, our animals mirror us. How does it affect cats and dogs?
Yeah, I think that animals are so sensitive to our feelings that when we're stressed out, they get stressed out too. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've, been in a vet clinic with an owner who has a sick pet and they're really stressed out and the dog is stressed out, and then they're kind of feeding off of each other, and that happens in the home too. And just like we talked about earlier, that human animal bond is so important that I think it's really important to, we want to help our pets decrease the stress and anxiety in their lives, but to do that for ourselves too. Find our coping mechanisms, our routine that helps us, if it's medication or supplements, like that's a quality of life issue for us and for our pets.
Exactly. If you've noticed signs of anxiety in your pets, pacing, hiding, overgrooming, you're not alone. Anxiety is common and it's treatable.
The goal isn't just better behavior, it's better health and a longer, calmer life.
Thank you for spending this time with us. If this episode resonated, share it with a fellow pet parent who wants more healthy years with their pets. Join us for more science backed ways to help your pets thrive through our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube channel.
And if you have questions or want us to cover a specific longevity topic, send them in at podcast@vitalpetlife.com. We love hearing from you.
And remember, calm isn't just comfort, it's longevity. So this has been Unleash Curiosity by Vital Pet Life, helping your furry family live longer, healthier lives, one episode at a time.